Another book called Nectar of Instruction, which in Sanskrit was called the Upadeshamrita by Srila Rupa Goswami. Those are the two books. And for those who are joining for the first batch, for the first semester, I welcome all of you and I congratulate you for your decision to read Srila Prabhupada books, which we will touch on in this class, on why do we even need to read and what is the purpose. And then also for those who have completed few semesters and who are joining back, either to complete the first semester as their last or one of the semesters that they need to complete, I welcome you back again. But before we start, what we do is we offer what is called Mangalacharan prayers, and we'll offer that and then we'll get started. Mataji, I didn't get your name. Yes. Jagruti. And then Shubham. Yes, I know you're Ankita's brother. Sharab. Yes. Akhil. Satwat. Thank you. Yes, I met you. And is everybody part regularly Bhakti Sastri or just visiting temple? Okay, wonderful. Just stay back and because you will hear about something about Upanishads. Not a bad, that is the return of your entry prize. All right, we'll start off with Mangalacharan prayers and then we can get started. And of course, I know Madhuri Sakhi. That's why I didn't ask for introduction. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guroho Shri Utapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhayascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivas Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Matsamo nasti papatma naparadhi cha kaschana parihare pilajjame kim bruve purushottama bhumau skalita padanam bhumireva avalambanam tvai jata paradhanam tvameva sharanam prabho govinda vallabhe radhe prarthaye tvamaham sada tvadiyam iti janatu Govindo mam tvaya saha Radha radhita radhesha Radhika Pranavallabha Radha Ramana Vande Tvam Radhika Prema Nirjita. So, this semester we are going to start with a book which is called Isopanisad. If you don't have a copy, nice to meet you. If you don't have a copy, please let me know. We will get as many copies as you want. It's nice to have a copy. It's a small book. It's not like the gym machine that you need to carry. It's a small, lightweight book that can be fit into. Even Naina can carry it whenever she wants to. So we will talk about little bit about Upanishads. We can talk about it, but we'll get to that in a minute. When we are doing the reading of the Isopanishad, we'll talk about what exactly Upanishads are and what are Vedas, where do Upanishads fit into the Vedas, and why are they called Upanishads. All those will be covered. But we can go, the whole purpose of Bhakti Sastri is to read Srila Prabhupada's books. Now, we might have commentaries, we will have lectures, we will have very deep Sanskrit analysis. All that is wonderful to read, but the whole purpose is to read Srila Prabhupada's books, imbibing the mission, the mood, and his attitude of service to his own spiritual master. So, Bhakti Shastri means all the exam questions will come only from Srila Prabhupada's books. There is no other place the questions will come. I'll tell you why. For example, we do have, there is this book called Isopanishad, which is translation by Bhanu Maharaj, which has the commentaries by Vedanta Desika, by Ramanujacharya, by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, by Baladeva Vidyabhushan, so on and so forth. So you might get books across like this, please don't worry. We will be, for Bhakti Shastri, which is, which is a basic level of course, we will be doing from Srila Prabhupada's books. So if you read thoroughly Srila Prabhupada's books, then passing the exam shouldn't be difficult. You have to work hard to pass the exam for sure, like anything, but you have to work doubly hard to fail the exam. Because we are not here to test your memory power, your knowledge of Sanskrit, or how articulately you can quote. It's all wonderful skills to have, don't get me wrong, but the whole idea is Bhakti Shastri is like the fundamental course. So the testing will not be done on a advanced level course, which is absurd, right? Fair? So far so good? All right. Usually these courses take like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, but we are almost doing it for 4 months, Hare Krishna. We are doing for 4 months because in Silicon Valley, we know the lifestyle of the devotees or even the students. They have to go to schools or offices, they have families, they have other services. And more often than not, both husband and wife could be working as well. So it's a tremendous amount of time bandwidth. Understanding that we have had like 3 to 4 months, so that even if you read 10 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day, then you should be able to cover. If you set that reading habit, then it becomes like a cruise control. You can, any time of day you think is the best, and it works on the individual basis. For some, it is morning that works the best. For some, it's evening. For some, who are mothers, maybe when the children go to school, for example, when there is nobody at. So everybody has their own time where they can say, this is my time that I can use to read Srila Prabhupada's books. Even if you spend 15, 20 minutes, block your time and just read with intense attention, that should be good enough. The beauty is that these ancient texts are abstruse. and practically ununderstandable from the modern perspective. You might say, that's a stretch. I'm not making it up. When we read Bhagavatam, the Bhagavatam starts off with the fact that the sages at Naimisharanya all assembled together. They were engaged in performing 1,000-year sacrifice to please Lord Vishnu. In the very first chapter, first canto of Bhagavatam, they ask 6 questions. The 6 questions, among those 6 questions, one of the question is, there are many, many divisions of scriptures. And in each of those divisions, there are many, many prescriptions, rules, regulations, sacrifices, vratas, homas, injunctions, etc. So please, just assimilate the essence of all these scriptures and give it to us. Now, that was the dilemma of the sages 5,000 years ago. Fast forward to 5,000 years later, and we are all sitting in Silicon Valley, or at least in this Kali Yuga, where even 50, 60 years ago, Srila Prabhupada started this movement. You can imagine the modern man will not have any capacity to understand scriptures in of themselves. It is practically impossible. I'll make it a humorous note, but over many years of teaching Bhakti Sastri, I have had a devotee come to me, Prabhuji, I'll do everything in temple and I'll do anything for the deities, cooking, cleaning, all is good. But the moment I open the book, I'll fall asleep. That reading is challenging. So my point here is that scriptures in of themselves are difficult to understand. But then you'll ask the question, Prabhu, then why are we even learning? Valid question. If they are difficult to understand, and if they were written millions of years ago, then why am I wasting my time with Upanishads, Vedas, and Bhagavatam, and so on and so forth? Krishna says in the Gita that every human being who's born on this world has certain obligations to the demigods. As soon as you're born as a human being, your meter starts running, like you're sitting in an Uber taxi. As soon as you sit, the meter starts running. So as soon as you take birth, you are obligated to demigods, you are obligated to forefathers, the sages, and so on and so forth. And those kind of sacrifices are mentioned, assuming that you are not a devotee. You are just an ordinary human being who is wanting to have some progressive happiness in life. Then it is mentioned that you owe your debt to demigods, to sages, to forefathers. And how do you even begin to repay this debt is mentioned in the Vedas. So Vedas are such a fundamental thing that if you are a civilized human being without understanding the Vedic knowledge, then you will be stuck in this material existence without even thinking of coming out. So therefore, it is incumbent on every human being to know about spiritual knowledge in Vedas. And Krishna says in the Gita, for those who are looking to keep track of the verses, it is the 3rd chapter and the 16th verse. He says, Evam pravartitam chakram nanuvartayati yaha aghayurindriya rama mogham partha sajivati. He says that he gives that the rains, they come from, so human beings subsist on grains. Grains come from rains. Rains come from performance of one's sacrifice. And Krishna giving this cycle, he later says that those whose human life is just a life of complete sense gratification and nothing else. The whole life is just meant like that. I have no other purpose except for these 4 activities, which is ahara, nidra, bhaya, maituna, eating, sleeping, mating, and there is no other thinking like that. Krishna is saying that person lives in vain because spiritually a person has not made tangible progress. And without that tangible spiritual progress, you can acquire anything you want by your good fortune, but you take nothing tangible behind you. Because one of the biggest questions we should ask is, at the end of life, what am I taking with me? And that is the biggest question. So Upanishads are part of Vedas. In fact, Ishopanishad is mentioned as the part of the Yajurveda. And with that introduction, we'll do a little bit of, we'll read a little bit about Vedas. So I will pass the mic on, and I will ask Krishangi Mataji if she's so kind enough to project on the screen the introduction to Ishopanishad. And this introduction of Ishopanishad is a lecture given by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, in 1969 in Conway Hall in London. He gives what are Vedas and what is the purport of Vedas, and it gives in a nutshell. So, Madhuri Sakhi, if you are so kind enough, you can read the first paragraph, starting with the teachings of the Vedas.
Teachings of the Vedas, delivered as an lecture by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada on October 6, 1969, at Conway Hall, London, England. Ladies and gentlemen, today's subject matter is the teachings of the Vedas. What are the Vedas? The Sanskrit verbal root of Veda can be interpreted variously, but the purport is finally one. Veda means knowledge. Any knowledge you accept is Veda. For the teachings of the Vedas are the original knowledge. In the conditioned state, our knowledge is subjected to many deficiencies. The difference between a conditioned soul and a liberated soul is that the conditioned soul has 4 kinds of defects. The first defect is that he must commit mistakes. For example, in our country, Mahatma Gandhi was considered to be a very great personality, but he committed many mistakes. Even at the last stage of
his life,
Even at the last stage of his life, his assistant warned Mahatma Gandhi, "Don't go to the New Delhi meeting. I have some friends and I have heard there is danger." But he did not hear. He persisted in going and was killed. Even great personalities like Mahatma Gandhi, President Kennedy, there are so many of them, make mistakes. To err is human. This is one defect of the conditioned soul.
and also it gives some solace for people who beat up themselves to no end for mistakes they commit. You should understand that in the conditioned state, it's not unnatural to commit mistakes. That doesn't mean you keep committing mistakes all the time and forgive yourself. It's my nature. But nevertheless, this is the first. Vedas or the knowledge means that it is subject to 4 kinds of defect. The first kind is a conditioned soul is apt to make mistakes. I'll give one example. It'll be a shocking example, but it's true. You can look it up. In 1896, there was an ad, because in those days, smoking or cigarettes was pretty common in those times. One of the ads actually said that they showed the ads for cigarettes. They said, not suitable for kids below 6 years. Means as soon as your 7th year hit, happy birthday, here is a pack of cigarettes. Because at that time, their knowledge was what it was. I am not finding fault, but 100 years later or 125 years later, you'd be shocked to see that kind of, that knowledge. So knowledge of Vedas is mentioned as is not subject to defects, like our knowledge that we have in human society. Rohini Dalal Prabhu, the second paragraph, please.
Another defect, to be illusioned. Illusion means to accept something which is not. Maya. Maya means what is not. Everyone is accepting the body as the self. If I ask you what you are, you will say, I am Mr. John. I am a rich man. I am this, I am that. All these are bodily identifications. But you are not this body. This is illusion.
Thank you. And you can give to...
The third defect is the cheating propensity. Everyone has the propensity to cheat others. Although
Little bit down.
Yeah. Although a person is fool number one, he poses himself as very intelligent. Although it is already pointed out that he is in illusion and makes mistakes, he will theorize. I think this is this. But he does not even know his own position. He writes books of philosophy, although he is defective. That is his disease. This is cheating.
Thank you. Another nature of this is, so what is the first defect? To make mistakes. Second?
Illusion.
To be illusion. Third?
Cheating propensity.
Cheating. Let's do the fourth one, please. Sure.
Lastly, our senses are imperfect. We are very proud of our eyes. Often someone will challenge, "Can you show me God?" But do you have the eyes to see God? You will never see if you haven't the eyes. If immediately the room becomes dark, you cannot even see your hands. So what power do you have to see? We cannot therefore expect knowledge, Veda, with these imperfect senses. With all these deficiencies in conditioned life, we cannot give perfect knowledge to anyone, nor are we ourselves perfect. Therefore, we accept the Vedas as they are.
Thank you. So, the knowledge which has these four defects cannot be considered authoritative knowledge. And unfortunately, if you try to see what is beyond, we are limited by our own defects. Yes or yes? For example, I do remember this, and when Srila Prabhupada writes that if it is dark, you cannot see your own hand, in the ordinary course, even in the dead of night, you will still see your own hand because there is some residual light floating around. And you might find it hard to believe. I think 10 years ago, I don't know, maybe 10, 11 years ago, my parents came, my late father and mother came, and I took them to California caverns. That was like underground cave. It was 3-4 hours drive from here. And they showed us all the beautiful formations, the rock formations and everything in the cave. And then there came a time where, and of course, all this place was fully illuminated. Otherwise, you couldn't, go into that cave. But they said, we'll give you the experience of total darkness, because cave was so deep under the ground, you will not even get any light. And they said, we'll give you the experience of total darkness for 10 seconds, whatever, 30 seconds. They turned off the light. I kid you not, in that pitch darkness, my hand was right in front of my eyes and I couldn't see it. It's that dark. So the question is, if you are trying to get knowledge, but the tools for getting knowledge are limited and imperfect, then the only way you can get knowledge is to actually accept the higher authority or the knowledge that is coming from a source that doesn't have all these. And that knowledge is coming from Supreme or God, who is giving us in the form of Vedas. So that is the meaning of Vedas, why we have to study Vedas. Vedas, that's why they are called Apaurushaya, which means that they are not created by any human beings. Right? One simple example: if you are having the map of the city officials should prepare the map and give it to you, and you will accept that map is correct, and you can go yes or yes. And your 10-year-old nephew or a son or a daughter will say, "I prepared the map of this city, according to how I think it should be." Will you take it? Same thing. All right. So. One of the things I request the devotees is to read and come, because we can have interactive sessions. My classes will not be monologues, because as much as reading books will put you to sleep, for some devotees, not all, monologues also tend to have the same effect at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, when we just had our lunch prasadams. So we'll make it very interactive. And the whole idea is, Bhakti Sastri, you can just read at home, write the exams and pass. There is no need to come to the class, strictly speaking. but the discussions the class generate, the discussions that this back and forth generate are so powerful. One of the secret I will tell you for passing Bhakti Sastri exam, if that's okay. Should I or no? I'll just keep it secret. Over the years, I have seen that those who come and sit in the classes, they are able to actually understand it better, not because I am teaching. In spite of my teaching, they are able to understand because there are question and answers that go and oh, but then I didn't think of this question, and that person looked this from this angle. So the understanding of the subject matter becomes more stronger. So just saying. With that, I will not dwell too much into, because there is also the time factor, so I will not dwell too much in read everything. I wish I could do that. We had Bhakti Shastri session for 5 to 6 hours, then we will read every word and we can discuss. But given the fact that we have 1.5 to 2 hours, so we will go over through the salient points in that, which I will highlight, and then we can take it from there. Oh, there is one thing I wanted you to read, which will be Krishangi Mataji, if you can just do Control F and then just do 3 kinds. Three kinds. THREE, 3 kinds. Thank you. And who is next to read? And please give to, okay, it's fine. You can go, Prabhus can go, and then Mataji's, it's okay. So please read till the end of the chapter.
There are 3 kinds of evidence: Pratyaksha, Anumana, and Shabda. Pratyaksha means direct evidence. Direct evidence is not very good because our senses are not perfect. We are seeing the sun daily, and it appears to us just like a small disk, but it is actually far, far larger than many planets. Of what value is this seeing? Therefore, we have to read books. Then we can understand about the sun. So direct experience is not perfect. Then there is Anumana, inductive knowledge. It may be like this, hypothesis. For instance, Darwin's theory says that it may be like this, it may be like that. But that is not science. That is a suggestion, and it is also not perfect. But if you receive the knowledge from the authoritative sources, that is perfect. If you receive a program guide from the radio station authorities, you accept it. You don't deny it. You don't have to make an experiment because it is received from the authoritative sources. Vedic knowledge is called Shabda Pramana. Another name is Shruti. Shruti means that this knowledge has to be received simply by oral reception.
Thank you. I think we can stop there. Thank you. So how many kinds of evidences are there? What are those? Okay. Okay, let's break it down. What is pratyaksha means? Directly perceived, which means you can see that there is a what is there in front of me here? And what is there inside? Are you sure? It can be a crystal clear alcoholic beverage, I don't want to name names. Or it could be just a hydrochloric acid. Or it could be anything. Yes or yes? You had hand raised. You wanted to... But assume it's a glass bottle. How do you know it's even made of plastic? So how good is your direct perception of a thing? This is supposed to be the reality, but you can see how quickly we can see that what we see through our eyes, it couldn't be the reality. Just to prove it's none of those. It's water. So direct evidence seems to be a little difficult thing. There is something called Smoky Mountains in Tennessee. it seems to be they are always on fire. So the mountains are always on fire. Why is California in news for wildfires when there is always Smoky Mountain in Tennessee? Nah, there is no fire in Smoky Mountain, Tennessee. It looks as if there is a fire, but there is no fire. So how quickly what we see from the eyes is not what the truth is. Because the human beings, now this is something nobody will deny. The scientists who don't believe in God and the spiritualists who believe in God, both are saying we are searching after truth, yes or yes? The scientists are saying, no, you guys are looking for truth, we are looking for lies. No, everybody is quote unquote searching for truth. But how do you define truth is a bigger problem, because that comes from, not from our direct experience, as I just showed. Logic, let's take from the logic. I talked about the Smoky Mountains in Tennessee. If you see, there seems to be like a dark clouds that are hanging around the forest, and you can see, I see smoke on the mountains. The logical assumption is that there should be fire, yes or yes? But in the case of Smoky Mountains in Tennessee, there is no fire. The logic also falls short in trying to search after God, because he is beyond the logic. And Isopanisad has many examples. We'll come to that point as well. And then what is left of the options is we have to learn the knowledge from Apaurushaya, or the authoritative sources, or Shabda Pramana, or the scriptural knowledge. So for those who are following Krishna consciousness in the line of Srila Prabhupada, we have our sources of knowledge as given from our Guru Parampara. But for those who are not, who are just visiting or who are just passing by or having an interest, one of the questions if you approach a Guru, you should ask him is, what is your source of knowledge? What is your source? What is your Guru's source of knowledge, if you get it? They say, no, I am a self-manifested person. I have no source of knowledge. In fact, it's very popular amongst some godmen who say, I have never read Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam or any Vedas or Puranas. But where did you get this knowledge from? From your own head? And if you get it from your own head, is that true? No. Because there has to be an authoritative sources. So this is the beauty of reading from Apaurushaya. Let's see. We'll quickly go, because we do have, and please forgive me, because this is not the first time I'm doing this, and the time. We'll read. Krishnangi Mataji, can you please do Control F originally? Once more, please. Next, click on the next button. On the arrow on the top, right, there is a down arrow. Yes, thank you. Actually, okay, you can read, and then one of the Matajis can get, and then Prabhus can go. So,
originally there was only one Veda, and there was no necessity of reading it. People were so intelligent and had such sharp memories that by once
would you mind removing the mask, because it seems very muffled, unless it's a medical reason?
No.
Thank you.
Originally there was only one Veda, and there was no necessity of reading it. People were so intelligent and had such sharp memories that by once hearing from the lips of the spiritual master, they would understand. They would immediately grasp the whole purport. But 5,000 years ago, Vyasadeva put the Vedas in writing for the people in this age, Kali Yuga. He knew that eventually the people would be short-lived, their memories would be very poor, and their intelligence would not be very sharp. Therefore, let me teach this Vedic knowledge in writing. He divided the Vedas into 4, Rig, Sama, Atharva and Yajur. Then he gave the charge of these Vedas to his different disciples. He then thought of the less intelligent class of men, Sastri, Shudra and Dvijabandhu. He considered the woman class and Shudra class, worker class and Dvijabandhu. Dvijabandhu refers to those who are born in a high family but who are not properly qualified. A man who is born in the family of a Brahmana but is not qualified as a Brahmana is called Dvijabandhu. For these persons, he compiled the Mahabharata, called the History of India, and the 18 Puranas. These are all part of the Vedic literature, the Puranas, the Mahabharata, the 4 Vedas and the Upanishads. The Upanishads are part of the Vedas. Then Vyasadeva summarized the all Vedic knowledge for scholars and philosophers in what is called the Vedanta Sutra. This is the last word of the Vedas.
Thank you, Sattvat. Okay, no, Mataji, you can start from here. Okay. What did we learn from that? This, in one nutshell, Srila Prabhupada gives the whole summary of the Vedic literatures, 4 Vedas, the Puranas, and so on and so forth. So any school of spiritual thought has what is called Prasthanatrayi, which means 3 forms of, even amongst the Vedas, if Vedas are Shabda Pramana, there are 3 types of scriptures, which are called Prasthanatrayi. The first one is called Shruti Prasthana, which means the proof, scriptural proof from the Vedas. The Shruti Prasthana are the Upanishads. All the Upanishads form the Shruti Prasthana. The Smriti Prasthana is Bhagavad Gita because it's part of Mahabharata. The Bhagavad Gita is taken as another authoritative source of knowledge or pramana. And the third is called the Nyaya Prasthana, which is the Vedanta Sutras. So these are the 3 kinds of proofs that we deal with. We'll do the last. So the thing is going to be, we'll do the last paragraph, which is starting with personally. If you do control F personally, Mata. Correct. So we'll do the last paragraph, and Mataji, you can read the last paragraph, and then you can pass it around to the Matajis till you reach that level of Prabhus, and then you can go there. And then after that, we will chant the entire Ishopanishad together. Not together, but call and repeat. So we'll get a flavor of what Ishopanishad is. Then we'll do first 2 or 3 verses, and then hopefully you'll be like, enough. I know. After pandemic, this is the first time I've been giving class in person. So I'm really, really excited. I was happy to... No. That's not the purpose. The purpose was I'm happy to be back amongst, away from the Zoom call, away from, seeing people in person. Otherwise, I was interacting with a lot of black tiles that was really hard to know what they were feeling or thinking, or is everybody asleep or only few people are asleep? Now if I see smiles, laughs, reactions, then I know what you are thinking. I can ask you, Arjun, I think you didn't get it. Then I see, so there's a whole lot of fun in being in person. So that was the thing. I was expressing merely my joy. So thank you for coming in person as well. So yes, please do the last paragraph, and then we will.
Vyasadeva personally wrote the Vedanta Sutra under the instruction of Narad, his Guru Maharaj, spiritual master. But still he was not satisfied. That is a long story described in Srimad Bhagavatam. Veda Vyas was not very satisfied even after compiling many Puranas and Upanishads, and even after writing the Vedanta Sutra. Then his spiritual master, Narad, instructed him, "You explain the Vedanta Sutra. Vedanta means ultimate knowledge, and the ultimate knowledge is Krishna. Krishna says that throughout all the Vedas, one has to understand him. Vedescha sarver aham eva vedya." Krishna also says, "Vedanta krit vedavid eva chaham." I am the compiler of the Vedanta Sutra, and I am the knower of the Vedas. Therefore, the ultimate objective is Krishna. That is explained in all the Vaishnava commentaries on Vedanta philosophy. We, Gaudiya Vaishnavas, have our commentary on Vedanta philosophy called Govinda Bhashya by Baladeva Vidyabhushan. Similarly, Ramanujacharya has a commentary and Madhavacharya has one. The version of Shankaracharya is not the only commentary. There are many Vedanta commentaries. But because the Vaishnavas did not present the first Vedanta commentary, people are under the wrong impression that Shankaracharya's is the only Vedanta commentary. Besides that, Vyasadeva himself wrote the perfect Vedanta commentary, Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam begins with the first words of the Vedanta Sutra, Janmayada Asya Yataha. And that Janmayada Asya Yataha is fully explained in Srimad Bhagavatam. The Vedanta Sutra simply hints at what is Brahman, the absolute truth. The absolute truth is that from whom everything emanates. This is a summary, but it is explained in detail in Srimad Bhagavatam. If everything is emanating from the absolute truth, then what is the nature of the absolute truth? That is explained in Srimad Bhagavatam. The absolute truth must be consciousness. He is self-effulgent, Swarat. We developed our consciousness and knowledge by receiving knowledge from others. But for him, it is said that he is self-effulgent. The whole summary of Vedic knowledge is the Vedanta Sutra. And the Vedanta Sutra is explained by the writer himself in Srimad Bhagavatam. We finally request those who are actually after Vedic knowledge to try to understand the explanation of all Vedic knowledge from Srimad Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita.
Thank you. So we can see how we are doing. What is the Upanishad we are doing today? Isopanisad. And Isopanisad is a part of 108 Upanishads, out of which there are 11 Upanishads which are prominent. And Vyasadeva actually summarized all this, like cliff notes. Students do that, right? You just have bullet points, just keep on writing. What does it mean? What does it mean? Does it mean? So he gave like bullet points and he summarized them as Vedanta Sutra. So the Vedanta Sutra's commentary was given in Srimad Bhagavatam. Yeah, she's getting it. So it's mentioned in Garuda Purana. Arthoyam Brahma Sutranam Bharatartha Vinirnaya Gayatri Bhashya Ruposau Vedartha Paribrimhita. Thank you. Vedanta Sutras are also called Brahma Sutras, Vyasa Sutras, Badarayani Sutras. If you hear these names, they are all referring to the same Vedanta Sutras, which is, there are, the Vedanta Sutras, the first 4 Vedanta Sutras are, the first one starts off is Athato Brahma Jigyasa. The second one is Janmadhyasya Yataha. The third one is Shastra Yonitvat. Then the fourth one is Tattu Samanvayat. These are you can see, I said all the 4 Vedanta Sutras, which are the most important, in 10 seconds. First 4 of them. Just, it's so compact. The first one is Athato Brahma Jigyasa. Now inquire after Brahman. Janmadhyasya Yata, from whom everything comes. It's like, from whom everything, what comes? And Janmadhyasya Yatha, and then they put etc. It's like, I tell Madhuri Saki, please get Rasgullas to Rohini Dulal and Shubham, etc. What do you mean, etc.? There are how many people, etc. are there? Yeah. Janma Adi means from birth, Adi is etc. Janmadi Yasya Yata, from whom everything comes. Vedanta Sutra is so compact. So that's the reason why everybody has to write commentaries. Shankaracharya wrote his commentary, Ramanuja wrote Sri Bhashya, and so on and so forth. Our natural commentary on the Vedanta Sutra is Srimad Bhagavatam. Arthoyam Brahma Sutranam. The meaning of Brahma Sutras is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. Bharatartha Vinirnaya. The conclusive statements of Bharata or Mahabharata are mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. Arthoyam Brahma Sutranam Bharatartha Vinirnaya Gayatri Bhashya Ruposo. The Gayatri Mantra, the meaning of Gayatri Mantra has been mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. In fact, the very first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, Janmadhyasya Yata, it ends with Dhimahi. I don't want to give a class on Bhagavatam, but it goes like Janmadyasya yatonvayat itarata chateshva vijñasvara tene brahma hridayadi kavaye muhyanti yat suraya tejo vari mridam himaya yatra trishorgam risha dhamnasmena sada nirasta kuhakam satyam param Dhimahi, which is the Gayatri mantra is mentioned in Dhimahi. Any Gayatri mantra, the word Dhimahi is used, which means that this also includes the commentary or the explanation of Gayatri mantras. And Vedartha Paribhrimita. It is Paribhrimita means overflowing with the meaning of Vedas. That is the power of Bhagavatam. So for those who would definitely like to have the confluence of all these different scriptures, then they will do well to read the Srimad Bhagavatam. Yes, I'll take questions. Just give me a minute. I'll just complete my thought process. And so with that introduction, we will get a little bit into specific technicality of what Ishopanishad is, but when the time comes, we'll get into it. And Srila Prabhupada actually mentioned that in the commentary. With that, I'll open up for a few minutes for questions, because I need to cover 4 verses. That is, I'll start from the back, and then Madhuri Sakhi, and then Rohini Dulal, and then who else raised the hand? And then Mata. I have met you, but if you can just introduce yourself once again, it'll be nice. Yes, Subhash, I met you on Friday, I know.
So, you just exposed us to a lot of spiritual texts. What is the difference, or maybe if you can summarize, what do you see in different spiritual texts? That would be great.
Thank you. So let's start with the starting point of what is the goal of all these spiritual texts. Because all these spiritual texts must point to multiple goals or a single goal. Yes or yes? Because why are you reading this math book for the fun of it? Nobody will say that. The end result is I want to get a degree. Whatever be it, yes or yes, or a job or whatever. So what is the end result of the Vedas? So we start off with that point, which is the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita and the 15th verse. And for those you can repeat with me, not after me. And then we can Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto mattah smritir jnanam apohanam cha vedaischa sarve rahameva vedyo Vedanta kritveda videva chaham. In that verse, Srivas Krishna mentions what is the purpose of Veda, who compiled the Vedas, and who knows the Vedas. And in a short answer, Krishna says, I am to be known through Vedas. Now, having said that, Vedas are not just meant as spiritual texts. Vedas encompass the entire knowledge that existed in the human society. With that, also, how do you live in this world? And what are the modes of material nature? The Vedas dealt mainly with being happy and prosperous in this world. So therefore, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Traigunya Vishaya Veda Nistraigunyo Bhavarjuna. He says that the Vedas mainly deal with the 3 modes of material nature and rise above them. So to rise above the 3 modes of material nature, Vedas have a portion what is called the Upasana Khanda, or the Upanishadic portion, which deals mainly spiritual. They don't talk of, you do this particular sacrifice, you get a family, you get riches. No, they don't talk of that. They talk of for the spiritual perspiration, aspects of it. Now, if you know Krishna, then you know Vedas. But if you don't know Krishna, then your Vedic studies are incomplete. So Upanishads drive home that point. Now Krishna is not Krishna or the absolute truth as he is, but he is manifested in 3 features. In the Bhagavatam it is mentioned, Vadanti tat tattvavidas tattvam yajnanam advayam brahmeti Paramatmeti Bhagavaniti Shabdyate. So when you're searching after God, based on the path that you choose the Upanishadic path, then you will come to the conclusion God is Brahman, limitless, Nirakara, Nirguna, and so on and so forth. But when you go to the process of dhyana, which have a separate text, then you will come to realize God as Paramatma. But then if you do bhakti, then you realize God as a person. So all these Vedic texts don't whole focus on God as a person, but based on the practitioner, then you will be, God will manifest according to the path that you choose. And therefore Krishna says, Ye yatham mam prapadyante, tam stataiva. He says in the 4th chapter of Gita, as men surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. If they are in, so the whole Vedic purpose is to find Krishna, but then the processes, based on the process, he manifests according to the process of the practitioner. So is that helpful a little bit? Okay. Madhuri, and then Rohini Dulal Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, we were talking about the 3 kinds of effect or evidence, and from my understanding, I'm understanding that Shabda Praman is the best sort of evidence. And I was, it's Pratyaksha is direct evidence, but it can be flawed because we have imperfect senses. But in that case, wouldn't Shabda Praman also be difficult for us to digest because, again, we have imperfect senses. So wouldn't that also be imperfect?
Yeah, it's an excellent point. Everybody got the question? I'll ask Madhuri to repeat again. I won't repeat myself. I know because she's capable of repeating herself. So, if I show to a 2-year-old and say this is table, that person will say table. But if that 2-year-old tries to understand from their own experience, maybe they ate some candy, and he looks at this, he thinks this is a candy, because this looks like candy from a distance. And if you are that age, you try to eat it, see if there is candy in it. So you can see how the 2-year-old child thought this is a candy based on his own or her own inductive process. But when the mother said this is a table, the child said, okay, this is a table. So the child's senses may be imperfect, but if I grasp the Shabda Pramana, then it becomes perfect. Yeah, thank you. All right.
Prabhuji, is there any reference to the 4 kinds of defects, the scripture?
Why do you ask?
It's easy to remember. There is a verse or something.
I know. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to put you on the spot. Rohini Dulal Prabhu is my good friend, so sometimes I take extra liberties. You should forgive me for that.
I'm your servant, Prabhu.
Actually, I have been looking. There is a verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita. I can forward you that. It's in Bengali, where it is mentioned the 4 types of defect. Now, where in Puranas or in Upanishads it's mentioned, I have to yet come across that evidence. But in Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is there in Bengali, and I can forward that to you if that's helpful. Okay. Thank you. Actually, Rohini Dulal Prabhu is extremely intelligent, and I'll tell you why. Who has heard of 12 Mahajanas? Okay. Ananda Kishore Prabhu, do you remember all of them now? Oh, if you don't know the verse. Okay, I'll ask you, what are the 10 subject matters of Bhagavatam? You remember that verse as well? Excellent. Again, so if you have to remember stuff, in Sanskrit, if you memorize the verse, it's much easier to remember for some reason. 12 Mahajanas, if I ask, unless you put some mnemonic to it, who is starting with A, B, C, or you come up with some funky mnemonic, and Sukomala is nodding her head because she's a teacher. She knows what mnemonics means to help kids remember stuff. I mean, Otherwise, it's impossible for you to remember. For example, 12 Kumaras. I won't know, but if I memorize the verse, as Anand Kishore says, Swayambhu, Nada, Shambhu, Kumar. So if you know the verse, then it's easy to remember. So that's the reason why this intelligent Rohini Dulala asked that question. Good idea. Because in the exam, if it comes, what are the 4 defects? If I memorize, but then there is a problem though. Some people say that memorizing verse is more difficult for me. It happens, I'm not kidding. So for some it's easy, but for some it is difficult. So please note, Bhakti Shastri doesn't test your memory powers. On that note, there will be verses for memorization. But fear not. Usually they come for 5 marks. Verses for memorization means you have to write Sanskrit and English. But you need to memorize only Sanskrit, not English. You don't need to remember where the exact comma is, where exactly full stop is. Don't do that. Don't worry about it. You remember the Sanskrit verse, but that you can't paraphrase. Sanskrit verse you don't paraphrase. If you try to paraphrase Sanskrit words, you'll stitch 4 verses, 1 line from each verse, and make up a new verse. All glories to you. But no. So Sanskrit verse has to be exactly the same. So far, so good. But English translation can be paraphrased. But again, paraphrase should be reasonably close to the verse translation. If you give something else, it will be difficult. 2.5 marks for memorization, 2.5 marks for English paraphrase. So if you have a difficulty memorizing the verses, we'll talk about it in the class. And I can give some tips and tricks to memorize. Not that I'm great at memorizing, but I can help you. But even if you perchance have difficulty, don't feel disheartened, discouraged, and disappointed. Just write the English and you'll still get 2.5 marks. Fair? Okay. Because it came up, I mentioned. Let's do all the 18 verses of Isopanisad. The Sanskrit I'll do, it's a call and repeat. And then Mata, you can give the mic to her and Rupali, right Mataji? Yes, Rupali and then we can get going like that. So we'll start with invocation and then, Krishangi Mata, you can just pull up the entire Isopanisad and go to the advanced view and just the verse and the translation, please. Yes, Mataji. Don't inquire or inquire? So the Vedanta Sutra actually, Mataji, it's saying inquire about Brahman. Athato Brahma Jignasa. Means now inquire about Brahman. I'm sorry, I should have been clear. The word is now inquire about Brahman. Means you have a human form of life, now you have the capacity to inquire. So inquire. Now Athato Brahma Jignasa. Thank you. You want to help Krishangi Mataji? Just put the Isopanisad verse, just the verse and the Sanskrit, the English, and the translation, please. Sorry? In the Isopanisad, advanced view is not showing? Okay, that's fine. We can, everybody has books, and those who don't have books, we can always. Is everybody having access? We don't need to wait. Okay, there we go. Okay. So kindly repeat after me. No, Mata, we'll go to the invocation, please. Yes, thank you. Okay. So kindly repeat after me. Om. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Translation. Rupali Mataji, yes. Okay, perfect.
The personality of Godhead is perfect and complete, and because He is completely perfect, all emanations from Him, such as this phenomenal world, are perfectly equipped as complete wholes. Whatever is produced of the complete whole is also complete in itself. Because He is the complete whole, even though so many complete units emanate from Him, He remains the complete balance.
Thank you. Mantravan. Ishavasyam idam sarvam Yat kincha jagatyam jagat Tena tyaktena bhunjita Magridakasya svidhanam.
Translation. Everything animate or inanimate that is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept only those things necessary for himself, which are set aside as his quota, and one should not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong.
Thank you. Kurvaneveha karmani Jiji vichechatam samaha Evam tvai nanyate tosti Na karma lipyate nare.
Translation. One may aspire to live for hundreds of years if he continuously goes on working in that way, for that sort of work will not bind him to the law of karma. There is no alternative to this way for man.
Thank you. And they can give to Sukumala in the back. Yeah. And then once you can give it to Nitish. Okay. Asuryanamate loka Andena tamasavritaha Tamste pretyabhigachanti Eke chatmahano janaha.
The killer of the soul, whoever he may be, must enter into the planets known as the worlds of faithlessness, full of darkness and ignorance.
Thank you. Next verse. The tune changes a little bit. Anejadekam manaso javiyo Naina deva apnuvan purvamarsha Taddhavatonya tishta Tasmin apo matarishva dadati.
Although fixed in his abode, the personality of Godhead is swifter than the mind and can overcome all others running. The powerful demigods cannot approach him. Although in one place he controls those who supply the air and rain, he surpasses all in excellence.
Thank you. And you can give to Arjun. Okay, this goes back to the original meter. Tade jati tannai jati Taddure tadvantike Tadantarasya sarvasya Tadu sarvasyasya bahyataha
The Supreme Lord walks and does not walk. He is far away, but he is very near as well. He is within everything, and yet he is outside of everything.
And I was mentioning that there are 3 types of knowledge. You can continue playing. There are 3 types of knowledge. That is pratyaksha and shabda. So anuman is logic. If I say, I'll pick on Naina. If Naina is there, she is sitting 6 feet from me. But at the same time, she is sitting 108 feet, 80 feet away from me in her home. How is that? Is it logical? But here we are, the God is near. So how can logic accommodate? So logic also is useless in trying to understand God. So that's what I heard today. ISO 6. Yastu sarvani bhutani atmanyevanupashyati sarvabhuteshu chatmanam tato na vijugupsate.
He who systematically sees everything in relation to the Supreme Lord, who sees all living entities as his parts and parcels, and who sees the Supreme Lord within everything, never hates anything or any being.
Thank you. Take 7. Yasmin sarvani bhutani Atmaiva bhut vijanatah Tatra ko mohaka shoka ekatvam anupashyatah.
One who always sees all living entities as spiritual sparks, in quality one with the Lord, becomes a true knower of things. What then can be illusion or anxiety for him?
Okay. A little tongue twister coming ahead, but we can do it. We'll do it. Saparyaga chukram kayamavrinam Ashnaviram shuddhamapapavidham Kabir manishi paribhu swayambhur Yata tatyatortan vyadadachashvatibhyas samabhyah.
Such a person must factually know the greatest of all, the personality of Godhead, who is unembodied, omniscient, beyond reproach, without veins, pure and uncontaminated, the self-sufficient philosopher who has been fulfilling everyone's desire since time immemorial.
Thank you. Text 9. Andam tama pravishanti Ye vidyam upasate Tato bhuya ivate tamo Ya uvidyayam rataha.
Those who engage in the culture of nascent activities shall enter into the darkest region of ignorance. Worse still are those engaged in the culture of so-called knowledge.
Thank you. Mantra 10. Anyadevahur vidyaya Anyadahur avidyaya Iti shushrumadhiranam Yenastad vichachakshire.
The wise have explained that one result is derived from the culture of knowledge and that a different result is obtained from the culture of nescience.
Thank you. Text 11. Vidyam cha yas tadvedo bhayam saha avidyaya mrityum tirtva vidyayam mritamashnute.
Only those who can learn the process of nescience and that of transcendental knowledge side by side can transcend the influence of repeated birth and death and enjoy the full blessings of immortality.
Thank you. We can ask a few more devotees to read, and then online. Krishangi Mataji, you can ask. Mantra 12. Andam tama pravishanti ye sambhutim upasate tato bhuya ivate tamo ya usambhutyamrataha.
Those who are engaged in the worship of demigods enter into the darkest region of ignorance, and still more so do the worshippers of impersonal absolute.
Thank you. Thank you, Prabhu. Mantra 13. Anyadevahu sambhavad Anyad ahur asambhavad iti shushrumadhiranam yenastadvichachakshire. Yeah, please go for it, Charlie.
It is said that one result is obtained by worshipping the supreme cause of all causes, and that another result is obtained by worshipping what is not supreme. All this is heard from the undisturbed authorities, who clearly explained it.
Thank you. Text 14. Sorry, Mata? So after Cynthia does it, and then anybody else is not there, you can ask one by one if you need. We have only four verses. Sambhutim cha vinasham cha yastad vedo bhayam saha
Vedo bhayam saha
vinashena mrityum tirtva sambhutya imrutamashnute. Cynthia, go for it, yeah.
One should know perfectly the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, and his transcendental name, form, qualities, and pastimes, as well as the temporary material creation with his temporary demigods, men and animals. When one knows these, he suppresses death and the ephemeral cosmic manifestation with it, and in the eternal kingdom of God, he enjoys his eternal life of bliss and knowledge.
Thank you. A famous verse. This verse will come in exam. Might not, who knows. Hiranmayena patrena satyasyapi hitam mukham tatpam pushan apavrunu satyadharmaya drishtaye. Yeah, read, Naina, it's okay.
O my Lord, sustainer of all that lives, your real face is covered by your dazzling effulgence. Kindly remove that covering and exhibit yourself to your pure devotee.
Thank you. 16. Little different meter. Pushan ekarshe yamasurya prajapatya Vyoha rashmin samohatejo Yatte rupam kalyanatamam tatte pashyami Yo savasau purushah sohamasmi. Online, please. Okay, if there is nobody in the interest of time. Okay.
Of my Lord, O primeval philosopher, maintainer of the universe, O regulating principle, destination of the pure devotees, well-wisher of the progenitors of mankind, please remove the effulgence of your transcendental rays, so that I can see your form of bliss. You are the eternal supreme personality of Godhead, like unto the sun as I am.
Thank you. Next verse. Vayur anilam amritam atedam bhasmantam shariram Om krato smara kritam smara Krato smara kritam smara
Let this temporary body be burnt to ashes, and let the air of life be merged with the totality of air. Now, O my Lord, please remember all my sacrifices, and because you are the ultimate beneficiary, please remember all that I've done for you.
Okay, and then the last one. Agnenaya supatarayesman Vishwani deva vayunani vidvan Yudasmajjuhuranameno Bhuishtam te manama uktim vidhema.
Translation. O my Lord, as powerful as fire, O omnipotent one, now I offer you all obeisances, falling on the ground at your feet. O my Lord, please lead me on the right path to reach you, and since you know all that I have done in the past, please free me from the reactions to my past sins, so that there will be no hindrance to my progress.
Thank you. So these are the 18 verses. We get a flavor. We didn't even start verse number 1 or even invocation at that verse number 0. So here are few options. We have been sitting for 1.5 hours. We feel like we need to stretch, take a break, come back. But the problem is at 3 o'clock we'll stop sharply. But we can take a break now, stretch yourself, and we can just go drink water, do what we need to. And I would request you also to pray to Krishna to give us his blessings, to Prabhupada, so that we can understand this. We can come back and stretch maybe a little bit beyond 3, maybe till 3:15, because we didn't even cover one verse, and I feel real bad about it. So what do you say? Is it like we stop sharp at 3, or we take a break and then we come back? Might possibly go beyond that. Really? Oh God, no. Only 3 is enough. I have endured enough torture. Why beyond 3? If that is the thing, we'll stop here. Your choice. Take a break for a few minutes? Or do you want to continue? Continue? Good Lord. Amazing. Thank you. I hope that's the same sentiment online. Online, you have you have the option to write in the chat, and then we can always have. Oh, there is Kripathita. I'm so happy now that I can see at least a few of them. And next to Kripathita is who's open. I'm sorry, I don't. If you're joining for the first time online, you can just unmute yourself and say Haribol to all here.
Hare Krishna.
Haribol.
Haribol Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Haribol. So happy to see
Haribol
you.
Prabhuji.
Hey, there's Ryan and there's, yes, Mataji, thank you. That's beautiful. Yeah, happy to see you all. That is very nice. Thank you for joining. So we'll continue. I think what we'll do is, just for the interest, we'll take a 3-minute break. You just stretch up, just stretch your legs. Or stand in the same place, just stretch, just say Gauranga 3 times, like really go high, and then we can just come back. Otherwise, you'll really feel like, And please understand, this is a first class enthusiasm. Second class, oh my God, no, I'm not coming anywhere. Or let's take a restraining order on Srivas Pandit from not to approach temple. So we'll just stand just for a minute, and then just look at the deities, and just let's say, let's raise our hands in the air loudly and say Gauranga, Gauranga. Once again, Gauranga. And for the last time, Gauranga. Okay. Is anybody needs to go to restroom or get some water? Yes, please. I know, 3-minute break. We'll be back. Okay. Please. Go. Hare Krishna. All right. So let's do the first verse. We did that verse, but let's, for the sake of invocation, we can do once again the call and repeat, and then we can get started. So I'm assuming everybody has the first verse, so let's do that. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. The personality of Godhead is perfect and complete, and because He is completely perfect, all emanations from Him, such as this phenomenal world, are perfectly equipped as complete wholes. Whatever is produced of the complete whole is also complete in itself. Because He is the complete whole, even though so many complete units emanate from Him, He remains in the complete balance. And when I read this verse for the first time, it was complete confusion. Because it was Purna confusion. Because this is like, the words Purnam is used so many times, it's like, what's going on here? So the invocation verse, actually, if you can see, it says, it's a beautiful verse, which says that the Lord, the first criteria is that the Lord is perfect and complete. And then whatever is produced of the complete is also complete. And then whatever you remove, whatever remains after producing something, it still remains complete. And it's easy to grasp if you understand the concept of infinity. Infinity minus infinities, infinity plus infinities, same thing. It's with Krishna, because Krishna is completely, is complete and perfect, and He has infinite qualities. So even this material world that is produced is also complete. And I think about it, right? You see this material world is going on like, year after year. There are rains, there are people taking birth and dying, and life is going on perfectly. It seems that there is nobody needed. In fact, it is that very kind of phenomena that gives rise to atheistic view, there is no God. Think about it. If the world was imperfect in any way, you will never say that. Assume that there is a small village in the middle of nowhere that receives government assistance, right, every year, and every villager is aware of the assistance received by the government. Will they say, no, we are perfect, there is no need, we don't need anything? Will they say that? But the fact is, Krishna has created this universe in such a way that people think this is perfect. There is nothing beyond it. And the jiva is saying, I'm very happy here because this world is enough. This is great. So whatever comes from the Lord is also complete, and this is the material world. That's what Srila Prabhupada writes in one of the purports. If you can look up the paragraph starting with invocation. The paragraph 2, the complete whole, the personality of Godhead. Yes, who didn't get a chance to read will be the bigger question. Or we can start all over again. Online, if anybody wants to read, is also great.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah.
The complete whole, the personality of Godhead, has immense potencies, all of which are as complete as He is. Thus, this phenomenal world is also complete in itself. The 24 elements of which this material universe is a temporary manifestation are arranged to produce everything necessary for the maintenance and subsistence of the universe. No other unit in the universe need make an extraneous effort to try to maintain the universe. The universe functions on its own time scale, which is fixed by the energy of the complete whole. And when that schedule is completed, this temporary manifestation will be annihilated by the complete arrangement of the complete whole.
One example I can give in the modern times is one of the theme parks located in the Los Angeles area. And it is billed as the happiest place on the earth. Right? You go inside, everything seems to be perfect. You don't feel like coming out. Yes or yes? But at one point of time, when the ticket entry expires, then you have to come out, or you can stay there. One day you can take a ticket and live for 1 year there. Same thing. So then the question comes is, if the Lord is perfect, His creation is perfect, then I'm not feeling perfect happiness. Is that a valid question? Why am I feeling unhappy? Or maybe I should ask the question, is anybody feeling unhappy? Maybe it's just me, only I am feeling unhappy in this world. Everybody is having no stress, no diseases, no... I'm just joking. So it is mentioned here in the next paragraph. If actually, for the interest of time, Madhuri, can you read the next paragraph, all facilities, and then you can go Arjun and Advaita.
All facilities are given to the small complete units, namely the living beings, to enable them to realize the complete whole. All forms of incompleteness are experienced due to incomplete knowledge of the complete whole.
Can you please repeat that statement?
All forms of incompleteness are experienced due to incomplete knowledge of the complete whole. The human form of life is a complete manifestation of the consciousness of the living being, and it is obtained after evolving through 8,400,000 species of life in the cycle of birth and death. If in this human life of full consciousness the living entity does not realize his completeness in relation to the complete whole, he loses the chance to realize his completeness and is again put into the evolutionary cycle by the law of material nature.
Thank you. So there is a reason for why Srila Prabhupada says, why I'm feeling disturbed is because I have incomplete knowledge of Krishna. When I say I have incomplete knowledge, which means I can only see the material manifestation around me, which is part of Krishna, but I can't see the cause, or I don't know the cause of Krishna. One of the biggest things in the world is not the fear in of itself. It is like, who is causing the fear? Right? What is the source of that fear or danger? Then in this material world, it might seem to be a dangerous place, but if you know who is behind the material creation, which is Krishna, then one need not feel incomplete. The biggest stress we take in life is thinking that somehow it is me. I am the person making my destiny. I am the person creating my future, and I am responsible for everything. With that mentality, the amount of stress you take when the results don't come your way is enormous, is it not? Not knowing the fact that there is a part behind this whole show. I'll come to your question, sir. You raised your hand. I'll not now. I'll come to your question. Because periodically I'll break for questions, and then please ask your questions. That is one of the biggest things, that somehow people who are quote unquote failing in life, they have this thing, oh, I'm not successful and I'm unable to create my destiny. And people who are successful, they have the anxiety, I created my own success, now I have to live up to my own success. Otherwise I'm a failure. Yes or yes? You become a prisoner of your own success, which means, oh, I have reached this level now. I can never come down. If I'm coming down, then I'm a failure. So you can see how this lack of knowledge of Krishna can make you feel incomplete and feel like you're just suffering in this world. And Krishna says, you're anyway not belonging to the part of this world, then why are you taking everything on your head? One beautiful gem of a purport in this Srila Prabhupada writes is, the human body or the human life is the complete whole. Because only in this human form of life can you actually make endeavor for complete perfection. Bhagavatam is like so straight to the point. There is a beautiful verse in the 11th canto for those who are keeping track. The verse goes something like this. Labdva sudurlamamidam bahu sambhavante manushyamarthadamanityamapi hadira turnam yateta napateta numrutyu yavat nishreyasaya khalu vishaya kalusaiva jushtat, something to that effect. The thing is, labdhva sudurlabam idam bahu sambhavante. Labdhva means to gain. Idam means this human body. Labdhva sudurlabham. Durlabham means rare. Sudurlabham means extremely rare. Labdhva sudurlabham idam bahu sambhavante. After many, many births, you get the human form of life. But then you will argue one thing. Animals die. Humans die. Animals have kids. Humans have kids. What is the difference? I mean, why are you keeping this human form of life as something very special? In fact, it has become common to use the term man is a social animal. Yes or yes? But man is not a social animal. Man is a social man. Man is a social person. A person is a social person. Because I don't think you want to partake. I have seen a documentary where the meals enjoyed by a crocodile. One crocodile kills a big animal, and there are 20 other crocodiles trying to grab a piece of it. Hurting the crocodile, they actually killed the animal in the first place. I don't think you want to be in that kind of party, where that kind of prasad distribution is going on. So the Bhagavatam says that after many, many births, you get this human form of life. And then while this human form of life also has, it's temporary. It has a beginning and it has an end. But this human form of life, you have the complete facility or the complete whole to target the complete perfection. Otherwise, no. The spirituality cannot be understood by anybody other than human beings. You can try teaching Bhagavad Gita to Bhakti Sastri to the dogs, but I don't think they will appreciate it. They will not care about the degree. So, and the beauty is that out of the 8,400,000 species of life, now, today, where we are sitting, where we are living, this is my opportunity. This is my lottery that I won. People think of winning lottery, but we already won lottery, the biggest lottery of getting the human form of life. And if we don't take that to pursue our spiritual life, then again we are putting ourselves very much at a risk and the mercy of the evolution on where we land up. And you might say, sir, big deal. Actually, I'll tell. One day, when I was growing up, we used to bike to work. Bike to school, sorry, not work. I'm not a child labor. Bike to school. I said bike to work. I never said it. If you are a child and biking to work means you are a child labor. Yes or yes? Otherwise, there is no question of going to work. You have to go to school. So I was going to school one day. And that day was, God knows, every month, every week there was exams. There was practice tests. There was semi-finals, quarter-finals, the middle between quarter and semis, and God knows how many things we had. The classwork, the homework, the schoolwork, the tuition work. We had to go to tuitions on top of it. I was so distressed with this. One day, I was about to bike. I woke up late. I was in a foul mood. I saw a dog. The dog and everybody was rushing, peacefully lying on the road, sleeping. I said, what a great life this dog is having. I am struggling to go to work. This dog never has to worry about rank. The dog has a kid, the kid doesn't have to go to school and show to this dog, I got first rank or second rank. They don't have to go to university. They don't have anything. What a wonderful life. But then when I came to Krishna consciousness, I realized that that's such a hard life. That life of an animal, you might think it is very nice, but please understand, it's a tremendously disadvantaged life. Because you, at least in the human life, if you go to work, there is a reasonable reassurance you will come back to home, yes or yes. You go to other place, you come back. Animal life, no guarantee. I mean, the birds will go to get food from their kids and they work hard. And I personally experienced it. In our house, I have my small kind of, you wouldn't say office, but a small cabin kind of thing. And outside it, we have what is called the motion detected lights, where people go and the lights go off, right? So on that motion detected lights, last 4 years. By this time, invariably the birds will come. They will start setting up their nest. And the noise just started. Just yesterday and today, the noise started. And the birds chirping. Now, they'll be at a furious pace because over the next month or so, they have to seriously get their house in order. And they get like grass, they get twigs, they get plastic wires. They start putting, and I can see the noise is going on and the twigs actually drop because some of them stick to the house and some of them don't. And they are in a rush to make sure that the house is built. And in exactly a month or so, then I see the female bird laying eggs. And the birds are in deep anxiety. Because if I go walk towards that light, they'll be like, some traitor is coming, somebody is coming, there's an anxiety. And they'll be like this, seeing what's happening. And you can see in few months later, when the actual baby birds grow up, then they abandon that nest. Then again, for the whole of winter, it's quiet. Now in spring, the activity again begins. But when the birds actually go to get food for their kids, there is no guarantee they'll come back. If some superior eats them, they can't go file a police report. Missing person, missing bird police report. It's very hard struggle in the animal form of life. So we are grateful. Sometimes we are frustrated, as you know, what is this life? But as long as a human form of life, you got the best life, irrespective of where you are, how much money you are making, what's your health, what's your family relationships, you know, how many times you fight with your wife or husband every day, or how many times you curse your boss, whatever. This human life is great. Thank you. This is the verse. Nishrehasaya Vishaya Khalus. Let's do this verse. It's a beautiful verse. I'll call and you repeat. Labdva sudurlabamidam bahusambhavante. Manusyamarthadamanityamapi hadiraha. Turnam yateta napatedanu mrityu yavan. Nishrehasaya vishaya khalu sarvatasya. Arjun, translation please.
After many, many births and deaths, the one achieves the rare human form of life, which, although temporary, affords one the opportunity to attain the highest perfection. Thus, a sober human being should quickly endeavor for the ultimate perfection of life as long as his body, which is always subject to death, has not fallen down and died. After all, sense gratification is available even in the most abominable species of life, whereas Krishna consciousness is possible only for a human being.
Yeah. I mean, the birds actually, which build nest every year, teach me this valuable lesson. If I'm too engrossed thinking that, you know, I first have to take care of my family before I need to take care of my spirituality, then they are doing the same thing as well. So, but I should do it simultaneously, not exclusive. A human being doesn't mean that I have to take care of family first, then I'll perfect spirituality, or I'll completely abandon my family and I'll take to spirituality. It doesn't work. Till there are certain criteria where you need to do both. And that's what Krishna teaches in Gita. I'm not making it up. Which we will learn when we come to the next semester, where we do the part 1 of Gita, and we will learn that. So far, so good. Questions, comments, concerns? Yes, sir. Your good name?
Ramdas.
Ramdas. Yes, please.
Everybody's afraid because ultimately everybody's afraid of death. But somebody that dies while they're alive many times, they're not afraid of death anymore because they've already dead so many times.
Thank you at this point. All right. So we'll do verse number 1, I think, and then we'll stop here. I think that then you should take a break of at least 15-20 minutes before we start our Sunday feast lecture given by Vaisheshika Prabhu. So text 1, please. Ishavasyamidam sarvam Yat kincha jagatyam jagat Tena tyaktena bhunjita Ma gridakasya svidhanam. Advait. Translation.
Everything animate or inanimate that is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept only those things necessary for himself, which are set aside as his quota, and one should not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong.
Thank you. So, what is the first line of this verse? First word of this verse? The Isha Upanishad came from that word. So that is why this is called Isha Upanishad, Ishavasya Upanishad, and so on and so forth. So that is the reason why this verse or this text is called Isha Upanishad, because it starts with Ishavasya. So Isha is the Lord, Avasya is controlled or covered. So this is mentioned in this particular verse. This verse, the first, second, and third verses talk about who controls, and then what is the way to live in this world, and what happens to those who fail to follow the order set by Krishna, our Lord. So those are the 3 outlines for this. Any questions so far?
Hey, Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
I have one question. You said like the Ishavasya Upanishad helps us with life and how we do it and those types of. I don't really get the other Upanishads like Kat Upanishad. Why was those Upanishads necessary when we could have this Gita Upanishad and Ishavasya Upanishad?
I don't think I got your question.
Why are there other Upanishads if Isha Upanishad and the Bhagavad Gita are just fine? Why are they Kat Upanishads?
Why are they existing? That's what you're asking?
Yeah.
All right. So Vedas have been there since time immemorial. So are Upanishads. And when it is called Gita Upanishad, the Lord actually extracted the essence of all the Upanishads and he presented to Arjuna, and that's why it is called Gita Upanishad. The verse from the Gita Mahatmya mentions Sarvopanishado gavo dogda gopalanandanaha partho vatsastu dhir bhokta dugdam gitam hridam mahat. So it is mentioned Sarvopanishado gavo, that all the Upanishads are like cows. And the cowherd boy is Gopalanandana or Krishna. And he is milking all these cows, which are in the form of Upanishads. Then Partho Vatsastu Dhir Bhokta. The Arjuna is like the calf. And then what is the milk? The milk is the Gita or the Bhagavad Gita. So the Upanishads existed since time immemorial, and Lord Krishna 5,000 years ago extracted the essence and presented it as Gita. So if you study Gita, then you will get the essence of all the Upanishads. All right, next question. Okay, nothing. Okay, let's do a few paragraphs from the first verse, and then we can stop today. 2 weeks from now, we will do the verse 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 18. No, just kidding. Right. Quiz question. What are the 4 defects of ordinary knowledge? Commit errors. Okay. To be illusioned. Cheating. Imperfection. Excellent. Give yourself a round of applause. There we go. Please, louder. It's excellent. All right. Verse number 3. So, Mata Krishangi, we can do the word over. No, go to verse number 1, please. Okay. Control F. Over. O-W-E-R. Sorry. O-V. My apologies. Okay. The Lord's proprietorship. You can go up, Mataji, a little bit if you can. It will be the 3rd paragraph. If you go from the top. Okay. Go up, up. Yes, thank you. So, Rohini Dilal Prabhu, please read the paragraph.
The Lord's proprietorship over everything within the universe is confirmed in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, 7.4 and 5, where para and apara prakriti are discussed. The elements of nature, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence and ego, all belong to the Lord's inferior material energy, apara prakriti, whereas the living entity, the organic energy, is the superior energy, para prakriti. Both of these prakritis or energies are emanations from the Lord, and ultimately He is the controller of everything that exists. There is nothing in the universe that does not belong to either the para or apara prakriti. Therefore, everything is the property of the Supreme Being.
So, this is the Ishavasyam Idam Sarvam, that everything belongs to Krishna. And then we skip one paragraph and then read the next one. Skip that, Mataji, being the big, and then, okay, yeah, one should therefore be intelligent.
One should therefore be intelligent enough to know that except for the Lord, no one is a proprietor of anything. One should accept only those things that are set aside by the Lord as his quota. The cow, for instance, gives milk, but she does not drink that milk. She eats grass and straw, and her milk is designated as food for human beings. Such is the arrangement of the Lord. Thus we should be satisfied with those things He has kindly set aside for us, and we should always consider to whom those things we possess actually belong.
Thank you. Does anybody have a question on this paragraph? So, since you all understood, I have a question. You can answer me. How do I know what is set for my quota? Okay, Rohini Dilal Prabhu, go for it.
Whatever is required to keep the body and soul together.
I need $20 billion to keep my body and soul together. I can say that. A person can say that. Then what is the answer to that? Right? Okay. But I'm just putting you on spot. So, more answers. All right. So the answer to is that, should we skip the answer because everybody knows? Should I skip the answer? So let's pull up verse number 4th chapter of Gita and 22 verse. please. Actually, this will very beautifully tie in the next verse, but no problems, you can take some time. 4th chapter, 22nd verse of Gita. Thank you. Kindly repeat after me. Yadrichalabha santushto Dvandvatito vimatsaraha Samaha siddhava siddhau cha Kritvapi na nibhadyate. Shaurabh, translation.
He who is satisfied with gain which comes of its own accord, who is free from duality and does not envy, who is steady in both success and failure, is never entangled, although performing actions.
Answers the question? Because one of the biggest questions, how do I know what's my quota? Krishna is saying, Yadricha labha santushto. That the gain will come because of my accord, of its own accord. Which means that this sort of previous quota, this is the quota setting aside or one's destiny, everything is included, because Krishna is saying that you are born in this world means you will get what is allotted to you. Oftentimes, not knowing this, we work so hard, thinking that somehow or other, I need to do this. But if it is supposed to come, it will come. And as comes of its own accord. Yadricha labha santushto. And yes, Mataji, please. Okay.
And if it comes to us, should we think that because it has come on its own accord, it was my share?
So the way it works is that Krishna, you can desire, anybody can desire what they want to. And if that is something that Krishna has allotted to you, you will get it. If merely my wishing will make things happen, then there will be no failures in this world. I mean, think about it. Nobody gets up in the morning and says, God, make me the utter and ultimate failure. There can't be nobody more failure than me in this planet. And God, guide me to the place where there is most COVID so that I can get COVID. Everybody will say, my family, no family, I don't care, stay far away from me. Right? So in spite of not wanting negative, you get negative. So if you want something positive, if one desires are okay, but uncontrolled desires will be the problem. Then uncontrolled desire means I will get my desire at any cost. I will, no integrity, no morality, no nothing, no question of values. I'll just go grab it. I'll do anything to get it. Then Krishna is saying that you are envying the person or envying others, and you are going to be entangled. He says, he who is satisfied or she who is satisfied with the gain, if it comes into own accord, free from duality, does not envy. Steady in both success and failure, is never entangled. Now let's flip it up. A person is unsteady in both success, always. When you are happy, like get something, oh, and then when you are failure, that is one thing. Second thing is envy, constantly. Oh my God. I've seen people who are envious. It's amazing. They will have a lot of stuff, but they're still looking at the person, that other person, and then I'm feeling, there is no cure for envy if you have envy in your heart. You may have a million things, and the other person will have one thing that you don't have. Now, you are not God. You are not Ishavasyam, Idam Sarvam. You don't control everything, which means there will be some things that others will have where you won't have. You have 1 million things, the other person will have only one thing. But you will still envy that person. And I mean, we are getting close to the Sunday feast lecture, but Mahabharata was a classic example. Duryodhana, when he cheated the Pandavas, he had pretty much the whole world to rule to. Yet Pandavas were having nothing and living in the forest. He was envious of them. So, and does not assume you envy, and you are not free of duality, which means that you see everything duality. And it's pretty common. If in relationships, if a person needs something from you, he will see you, oh, very nice, good person, you praise and everything. If the person he or she doesn't need you, they won't even care about you. So you see the duality is still existing. And who is not satisfied of the gain, which I'm putting the negative here, then what is the result of that? You will be entangled or not entangled? Which beautifully brings into the next verse of the Ishopanishad. We will do that verse just to complete the train process. Please read for the next class, please read verses, all that we read today, plus verse 3, 4, and 5. We will discuss that in the class. But having said that, we will do the next verse from Ishopanishad and we'll stop. Mantra 2. Mantra 2. Oh, so should we stop here then? Okay, then what we'll do is we'll do the mantra 2 from our books, please. It's easy. Haribol. Let's do it quickly. And we'll just read the mantra and stop, and we can do the explanation later. I just wanted to complete the train of thought, because Ishopanishad says the same thing. Mantra 2. Kurvaneveha karmani jije vichechatam samaha evam tvai nanyate tosti na karma lipyate nare. The translation is, one may aspire to live for hundreds of years if he continuously goes on working in that way. For that sort of work will not bind him to the law of karma. There is no alternative to this way for man. The same thing is mentioned here, which means that if you don't, again, Ishavasyam spirit is that everything belongs to Krishna and he set something aside for my quota. And if you don't follow that and you try to grab everything, then you will be entangled. Here he says that if you think like that and you work, you may aspire to live for hundreds of years, but that sort of work will not bind you. Otherwise, the work will. So this is the Ishavasya spirit, and this is what is mentioned here. I am so grateful to each and every one of you for coming today for the Bhakti Sastri course. I know it took a little longer than usual, and I hope I didn't give the impression that the performance review I had with my boss after not working for a whole year during pandemic was much better than this. Then I'm sorry. But otherwise, I'll see you in 2 weeks' time. We have our second class in 2 weeks from now. And then we will discuss the verses 3, 4, and 5. And I'm looking forward to seeing you then. Thank you so very much. Vansha kalpatarubhyascha kripa.